Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be doing a restoration where we restore vintage talking Barbies.
Now Barbie talks.
Stacey and I are having a tea.
Who's Stacey? She's Barbie's new friend. She talks too.
Hello there, I'm called Stacey.
Barbie is the very same size she's always been. She and Stacey can even wear the same clothes. Mattel's new Talking Stacey
I think miniskirts are smashing.
and Talking Barbie
What shall I wear to the prom?
want to talk to you.
Stay tuned and you will get to learn how you too can fix your talking Barbie. Now this one I've restored to talk about maybe 3 years ago and she still talks. And still sounds so cute and looks absolutely precious. Restoring them to make them look good is one thing, which we will do in this video as well. And restoring them to talk is another thing.
Right, as always.
You don't have to restore them to talk, by the way, to get a nice looking doll. You can just restore them like your any regular day Barbie. And we will go through that in this video as well, like how you can do that. But to restore them to talk is a different beast, okay? It's gonna take a lot of patience. You're gonna have to give yourself a lot of faith. And you're just really gonna have to dedicate yourself to the project. Now, I, for one, have been doing this for maybe 10 years.
Old maiden.
And I'm still learning, and it's incredibly helpful that at the time, whenever I started, they had restoration kits. That company is no longer in business. So to get these things, you have to check out all your resources. I do have some sources that I can share with you and some I can't because I've lost them.
She is awful.
Some of the important bits I think that you will need for this restoration, I'm going to leave a link down below in the description. Anyway, without further much ado, let's go on and let's start learning about the original talking Barbie.
Hello? Hi, Julie. Now listen. Guess who's here to talk to you?
I love being a fashion model.
When Barbie came out in 1959, no one except Ruth Handler and her designers were ready for the success that she would become. By 1961, she had already made her mark in the toy industry and set the new standard for what a fashion doll should be. But what does a company have to do to stay ahead of the game? They have to continue to develop and innovate their design. They made her more transitional. They made her more poseable. They even made her more youthful and made her do the twist. But what was next? No matter the innovation, other companies were copying Barbie's every move. And in most cases, they were only half the price of a true Barbie doll. And even though they weren't as nice of quality, sometimes you wouldn't understand that, especially if you were a child or bereaved on a budget. And sure, this new Barbie wouldn't help with the rise in cheaper alternatives. She was something most companies couldn't replicate due to their lack of experience and resources. Mattel, on the other hand, had been making talking dolls for many years. But let's not forget how ambitious it was based on the size of Barbie alone. A doll who, above all else, had to remain her same size to fit her extensive wardrobe. Luckily for Mattel that they had some of the best toy designers and engineers in the business. When Talking Barbie arrived on the scene, she was a success. So much so that they added a second wave and included many more of her friends. And with additional waves come additional variations and different phrases, which makes it very fun when you're collecting them. Unfortunately, due to their fragile nature and the oncoming rise of the fashion doll market clones, the Talking Barbie line was discontinued. The leftover parts were put together and they were sold in a baggie at 5 and dime stores. And those dolls are usually called baggy Barbies. And those Barbies will have on their torso not a talker, although they will have the speaker drilled out and everything is hollow on the inside. And there are many doll lines from that era of Barbie that were sold in baggies at this time. As Barbie as a whole and Mattel as a whole were going through a big change. And with the handlers gone, Barbie line was made more about quantity over quality, and the dolls and fashions were made cheaper and sold at competitive prices to offset the mass market clones. It would take them a while to try the concept again in 1992 with Teen Talk Barbie, another doll who is remembered fondly. Some may even say controversial.
I am shocked and disgusted.
Although these early talking Barbies are so temperamental and usually found in terrible shape, it's easy to dismiss them. However, I revere them. They're marvels of their time, and when they're found in good condition, they're some of the most beautiful Barbies. And it's these Barbies today that we are going to fix. So these are the dolls that we are going to be working on today. We have Talking Ken. I believe he's the second issue. We have the second issue of Talking Barbie right there. This is the Tishan version, and she is really stunning. I mean, beyond all the dirt that is all over her and him, she's going to turn out great. She is missing part of her knob for her limbs to stay on, and I do have some extra parts that I'm going to use to fix that. Again, like all of these dolls are like in various forms of shape. And then we also have Talking Stacey, and she is yellowed, she's sticky, she's missing hair. The majority of her hair is missing. She's missing her eyelashes. Whoever owned this Stacey really loved her. And one problem that they all have is that they no longer talk. I believe Barbie's is the only one that we can actually even pull out. Nothing is happening. On the inside of these torsos are actual record players, and the speaker is actually right along here, and it is about the same texture and the same quality of a paper cup that you could use with water at work. So, you know, very flimsy products that they were using to make these dolls talk, but it's honestly a wonder that they were able to do something like this. So, first things first, we're going to have to address the dirt on all of these dolls. And what I'm going to do to begin is I'm going to remove their limbs from their torsos. We're going to set their torsos aside, and then we're going to start scrubbing and cleaning these dolls.
Are you sure?
If you are watching this as a tutorial, do not get discouraged at any point of your restoration, but don't feel bad if you don't immediately get it. Just keep rewatching until you do.
Shall we begin?
Some of the things that you are going to need whenever you are taking off their limbs, you're going to need some boiling water, so you want to make sure that you have some boiling water. I like to have my electric kettle handy at all times whenever I'm doing restoration, whether it be for boil washes, limb removal, or limb replacement. They do come in handy. So for the ones with the old squishy heads, usually the first editions that you are able to squeeze very easily, you don't really need to get them hot. They're already squishy enough to where you can just take them off. But for ones that are a little bit harder, like this doll right here, you are still able to squeeze this off if you work at it. You don't necessarily have to get it all the way wet, but you do want to be a little bit careful when you are trying to remove these heads. Some heads are squishier than other heads. Just do the squish test. If you're able to squish it easily, then you should be able to remove it without breaking the neck knob. You want to try really hard not to break this neck knob because it becomes very fragile whenever it's broken, and chances are you will not be able to get it out of the head with it still being intact. So just keep that in mind.
I know more about
Barbie restoration.
than you do, genius.
Don't try to submerge the whole body. I'll just submerge an arm at a time. And it's very important to get these arms off of the torso itself because, like I said, this torso is very fragile. It is not the best quality, so the plastic will break at any point in time. And again, that's not really your fault, obviously. They break as is, but just take extra caution when working with them. So a good test to see if the limb is ready for me to pull it off yet is if I'm able to bend the arm completely like that in the water. So this is going to be very hot, but you should be able just to take off the limb like so. We're going to do the same thing for over here.
Eventually.
Okay, the limb is squishy. I'm doing the squish test. So I'm gonna go ahead, go right over here and try to pry it off. Now, it does look like this limb is a little bit fragile, like right around here. I did see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you see that right there? Or that's just a little bit. Yeah, so whenever we open this limb up, this part is probably gonna come apart with the back, and we'll just reinforce it before we put on the arms again. I'll show you how to do the legs. I just set them like this, right in there, like so. Now, you do run risk of getting the inside of this torso wet whenever you are doing this, but do not worry, you will get in there and you will fix everything as you should. Now, if you're trying to restore these and you have no plans of taking them apart and restoring the talking torso, that is no problem. You're just gonna wash around it and you're gonna try to avoid getting the torso wet in any way, as you don't want to rest up any of the springs that are in there. Okay, so here we have the wonderful leg. It should be ready to be plucked right off. And it took the piece that was on the inside. It looks like this leg at one point had actually been fixed. You can see a lot of glue residue actually on there. That's very interesting. Okay, good to know, good to know. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off her limbs, and then we will go in and try to take out the little plastic knobs that are stuck in there, and I'll show you how to do that too.
Really? That I'd like to see. Well, you will. If you say so.
When you are trying to get out the plastic knobs, you just want to stick the legs in like so. Now, it's good to kind of like remember whose legs go with who. And so what I've done is I have made like little baggies, like this one is for Barbie and it's for the Hong Kong torso, which is what she came on. And so I'm going to take that from the limbs and put it in here, so that way I know these belong to Barbie, and then this one over here belongs to Stacey in the Mexico torso. So that's how I'm going to keep things a little bit organized for myself, so I don't have to play the guessing game, which knob went onto which body. That way I kind of already know, and that way it just makes my life a little bit easier. So to get out the peg, what you're going to need is you're going to need a flathead screwdriver. I have one right here. And you're just going to go on the inside of the leg. So I'm going to go in like so and just pluck it out. Now, sometimes these can get airborne, so make sure that you're in a place like where you could easily find it if you do lose it. But there we go. Now it's out, and this goes right on top of the peg right there. That is what creates the little knob for the leg to sit on. So you're basically going to shuck all of these doll legs just like I did before. So I'm gonna go in over here with Stacey's other leg. I'm gonna go in like so. Just pluck, and here we are. It's right there. Yep, so that's all you're gonna do with these, and that's how you get out the knobs.
A witch!
Okay, so now we're gonna do the same with Ken. This Ken already has a wobbly head because it is a little bit broken on the inside.
I hate to sound bitter, but I am.
We are going to put that aside, and I'm going to put his arms in here and make them a little bit squishy. You are going to get some things wet in this, but don't worry, you will be opening them up and it will be fine in the end.
Sure, Jan.
And just take them out. And take them out like so. Just pour melted legs. Stick those suckers in there like so. Let it sit for a bit. think that it is time for us to try it out and see. So, ooh, okay, there we go. So that is basically what that looks like. It is melted to high heaven. You got melt marks in there. So what I'm gonna do whenever we come back to fixing this, I'm going to put a layer of acrylic right there so that way this melting situation can stop. I'm gonna do it over here too. There we go. This is reminding me a lot of the Miko dolls. This is what happens with the vinyl and the plastic. Whenever it sticks together, it just has a chemical reaction that is not good, and it creates like a bendy, rubbery type thin plastic where it can't really handle that much stress.
Look how stressed my is.
So what I've done for the limbs, because they were so dirty, is I mixed up hot water with baking soda and dish soap, and the hopes is that the dirt will fall off easier. So I'm going to clean these the same way that I would clean any of my other Barbies. I'm going to use baking soda and dish soap, and I'm just going to scrub. And again, I'm hoping that the dirt and the grime comes off a little bit easier this way. After you scrub them really well, you could go ahead and just place them back into the water mixture. Again, dish soap, baking soda, just go on in and scrub. Now I'm going to do this with all the limbs, even if they're plastic. This will help get off all of that excess dirt and grime. And you want to make sure that you're thorough in your cleaning, because again, once they are put back together, there won't be any more chances for them to have a bath. That is exactly what you're going to do for all the limbs. I'm going to go ahead and do them off camera, and then we'll get to the heads.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Okay, let's get to doing the heads. The most dramatic one will probably be this Stacey. Now her face paint looks good. There's no chipping. There's no really any big major drama whenever it comes to her face paint. So I will feel a little bit comfortable by giving her a scrub it up dub. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lather it all in dish soap first, like so. And like I said, like Stacey has the most problems, like out of all of them. She's going to need a lot more work. Just like with the limbs, I'm going to go in with the baking soda, and I'm just going to go in a circular motion around her face. I'm gonna get under the chin. Very important to do that. I'm also gonna go underneath, right around here, because she is missing a lot of plugs, so you might as well go ahead and get every spot you can. But there we go. See, she looks a lot better now. Okay, now we can get started on Ken. Ken, I'm just gonna use the soap that's on my hands. I'm gonna go in with the baking soda. Now he does have a scrape on his eyebrow and all over his head and his hair. So we are going to have to do some repainting with him. See, now he's looking pretty good himself. Now moving on to Barbie. Again, we're gonna do the same thing we did before Stacey. This Barbie, however, has a very beautiful face. I will say be gentle with this one, because I found that these nape curl talking Barbies, like their face paint does seem to flake depending on how you handle them. So I'm gonna go a little bit gentle whenever it comes to her. I'm not gonna go as hard. And then there she is. And to break up any tangles, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some hair conditioner for moisture. I like to use this brand right here. It's cheaper, and also it leaves your doll smelling really good. So just gonna use that. Lather it on like so. I don't like to use fabric softener whenever it comes to doing my doll hair. It leaves it very waxy, and I don't think that it's very helpful in the end. Just leave it to clothes, really. And sometimes it even eats up your clothes, so just be careful whenever you're using it. Don't use a lot. And before I restyle this doll hair, I am going to boil wash it, just so that it comes out looking nice. See how much better she looks already?
You look quite pretty.
Okay, so we're gonna try to de-yellow this Stacey doll head. I've got some hot water boiling up in my electric kettle, and it says that all you're gonna need is 1 cap size full, and you wanna add this in before you add in the water. Now this right here is denture whitener. It's a stain away treatment, and I'm going to add in my hot water right into here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to dunk in this Stacey head, and hopefully all the yellow will be out of her system. Just dunk it in there.
1 hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Now it's been about 20 minutes, so let's see how she looks. Okay, so she's less yellow, like everywhere, like a little bit. Don't know if it's as noticeable on camera as it is off.
No!
So here we have her boil wash done and she's dried, and we can now take a comb through it, but you can still see like right along here, like where there's straggly bits and it's broken off in places. It's just never gonna look right, like if I were to reroot or partially reroot this with some hair, because like look how much I'm going to have to reroot here. Like if it were 1 plug, that's fine, 4, 5, 10 tops, but this right over here, like oh my gosh, and it continues on to go up to the top. As you can see, like it's all breaking apart. And honestly, like I don't really want to mix new fiber with old fiber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give her a haircut. I'm going to reroot the entire head with nice champagne colored blonde hair. But before I reroot it, I am going to recolor the vinyl.
She's educated.
The haircut is done, and as you can see, it really didn't take a lot of work. And her head is still, it's not like yellow as like dark and tarnished as it was before. It's totally ready for some color. I'm gonna go ahead and recolor it again. Like if this looks fine to you, if this is like what you want, this is what you're going for, you don't have to recolor. This is just me doing what I think will be best for the doll in the end. So to get the color that you want for mod dolls, you're gonna use a configuration of pinks. I have a darker pink right here. I'm only going to do just a little bit of that, okay? Because this could be very overpowering. I've got the middle tone of pink. I'm gonna go a little bit in deeper with that one. And then you have your light version of pink. So when you've got them all down and they're looking like this, you wanna take your brush, and this is going to be for whatever brush you wanna use. Right here, we are using the e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Blush brush, okay? You wanna make sure that you pack it onto your brush, because what you're going to do is you're going to stipple it on it to the face like so. Now this might be a little bit too loose of a brush, but we're gonna try to make it work. There we go. It's always best to start with a looser brush whenever you first begin, so that way you can kind of get a feel for how it's going to look. Now there is no prepping needed for this. You just want to do it like with a clean face. Clean vinyl is always best and recommended. What I usually like to do is I like to use this brush, which is the blending eye brush. And I go in, you see like how I can hold pigment a lot better, and I go into those finer details that the first brush just couldn't get. And basically you're gonna do this until you feel like the color payoff is what you want it to be. And there is no setting after. You don't have to set it with anything. You don't have to put Mr. Super Clear on it if you don't want to. You don't have to be that invasive. But yes, that is how you recolor, which I hope this helps you in your restoration endeavors.
I'm a professional woman.
Now we are ready to do the reroot. We've got the head recolored, and we also have some nice luscious champagne platinum hair. It's beautiful. This is the honeysuckle hair color from Dolly Hair, and this is actually not saran but nylon, but this is a high quality nylon that is so lush and so perfect, and that's what we're going to use for this doll. Today I'm going to be using my rerooting tool, which you could also buy on dollyhair.com. You can buy it on dollrestore.com or restoredoll.com. You can make one yourself with an X-Acto blade and a cut needle. You don't need to go out and buy those expensive needles. Like for instance, if you'd like to go to Walmart and buy a package of needles like this, for instance, you see that needle right there? Well, basically what this is on the end, this little prong right here, that is basically this, but cut. So it's cut to the point where you can't put a thread through it, or the thread won't stay rather. And that's what you're gonna go for. And that's what I've done. And I've made my needles since. I remember whenever I first started rerooting, I would go in and buy all the needles that I needed for it. And I would buy all the hair and stuff. And it is quite a large bill whenever you add it up. And it's quite unnecessary because this you can make on your own if you're crafty and have a pair of pliers. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do it in sections. So I'm gonna take this little section right here, looks good to me. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate it. So the strands of hair, really, with the exception of up here, you're gonna have like your thicker strands whenever you go through the thatching line. But whenever you go around the perimeter of the head and such not, you don't want to use a section this big. What you would like to do is use a section that is this big. And it doesn't look like much, but it is.
That's what she said.
But if you look at this right here, you want to loop it around your finger. Okay. Looks nice, right? So loop that around your finger, take your needle, slip it through, and pull taut, and then find a plug. I choose this plug first, and there you go. And watch this. It's in, and that's about as much pulling as you want to do, okay? And check that out. Whenever you're done with this reroot, you will not need to use any glue. Isn't that fun and fabulous?
Yes!
You don't have to use glue. Now I'm going to do it again. It's so easy. It's so therapeutic too. Then we're going to do this big one above it. And boom. Check that out. Pulling on it. And it's not coming out. And that is basically all you're gonna do. Now I'm gonna fill up all of these plugs back here, which it looks like a big job, but hopefully I can breeze through it pretty quickly.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
You're a dreamer. You dream a lot in your sleep.
No, not really. I know.
Yes, you do.
No, I
yes,
don't.
you do.
It is some odd hours into the day, and Stacey is rerooted. She looks a little bit like a Tina Turner.
The touch of your hand makes my pulse react. I don't care.
So I got the thatching done, and I have it in a little plastic cello, which I've shown you all how to make in a separate video, which I can link down below. But there it is. There's the thatching. It's kind of hard to see because of how white the hair is. I'm super excited. Like, this is going to be really pretty, I feel. It's very important that you boil wash this thatch in.
Then do get on with it, please.
So we're back from the boil wash. We can go ahead and take off the cello, and let's go ahead and create her bangs. So these will be her bangs right here. They went in and out like so. So I'm just gonna go in at an angle. Another thing, if your bangs are a little bit too bulky, you can cut them like this too. That just feathers them out. Brush. And boom, there we go. There's her bangs. There's Stacey. She's already looking so much better. You can already see like how she's gonna look with her side pony. Super beautiful. I went ahead and ordered some silk ribbon off of eBay. We're gonna use the 7mm silk ribbon in a green, and that's gonna be perfect when it arrives. So I'm very excited for that to get here.
Hold on to your titties.
Now it's time to start to do her lashes. So I've already pre-prepared some black strands right over here. And as you can see from the consistency, there's only about 3 to 4 pieces of hair here. You really don't want them to look thick. You want them all to work together. So you're gonna wrap it around your finger just like you did the other one. And pull it taut. Now I'm gonna look for her original eyelash placement. And it looked like this doll had a lot of lashes. So there we go. Now Stacey's lashes are always black. Barbie's are typically brown until we get into the nape curl talker era. And then Barbie's lashes turn from brown to black. I don't know why they did it like that, but they did. So you can start wherever you want on the eye itself. I like to start from the back to the front, from the front to the back, depending on where I begin. And basically that is what you're going to do. And whenever it is all done, I'm going to show you how to cut it.
I've told you 1,000,000 times not to talk to me when I'm doing my lashes.
So now we got these beautiful lashes all done. Now I'm gonna cut them, but I just want to show you, like, these are not thick. You don't want them to be like super thick. I'm gonna take the scissors and I'm going to cut them like so. There we go. I like to go at an angle. You can see like how they look. Oh yeah, those are super pretty. Oh yeah. Hello, Stacey.
Hello, gorgeous.
Okay, there we go. We're gonna start at angle again. Let's take a peek. Oh yeah, she looks beautiful.
She's a woman.
So I've given the snake curl doll a boil wash. So now I think it's time for us to start on her hair. One thing that you will need is a plastic cello, which I showed you how to make in a separate video, which I'll link down below, and a rat tail comb. And the curl part of her hair looks pretty nice, but let's see if we can get it back to a little bit more to that curl. So I'm going to place the cello over top of her head like so. I'm going to stick the end of my rat tail comb underneath and I'm just going to push up. And that's what I'm going to do. And whenever I get it to the place where I want it, I'm just going to do that. Hold down. Like so. And from these nape curls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them a little bit differently. They have kind of like lost their curl, unfortunately. And if she had no lashes, I would go in and just put the whole cello over top of her. But since she still has her original lashes and they're still beautiful, I'm not going to do that. Like I said, before I am brushing, I did boil wash this doll's hair so that way it would be easier to maintain. So I'm gonna go in and actually start to curl her sides right over here. I'm gonna go in very small, and that is because From pictures at least, it shows like there's a lot of individual curls that make up the ponytail portion. And I'm gonna curl up like so. And this is gonna create a bunch of little pretty curls. They're gonna be so pretty. Okay, and we see the nape curl right here. And you can go ahead and lay that right there on top. On the end, I'm gonna do actually tear that in half. Wrap it around. And then curl up. I'm gonna curl up. There you go. Okay, so now we're gonna boil wash the hell out of this, and then before it dries, we're gonna take out these nape curls, and we're going to take a lot of gel and form them to her face.
It's what she would have wanted.
When you're repainting, you want to make sure that the paint that you use is very diluted. And I think I have a color match here. And all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go over the areas where he needs a little bit of coverage. I'm not gonna go over the full area. And I hope that this paint dries a little bit dark. If not, that's okay. This could just be the first layer. When you do dilute the paint, you will have to go back over it. It's not going to have the best coverage, but that's why it needs many coats. Okay. Just gonna go over with this. Try to blend it out a bit. We'll do one more little layer on his eyebrow right here. And boom. When that is all dried, he will look good as new. Do you like this video? Do you like restoration videos like it? If you do, please leave a like down below, leave a comment, share with your friends, or maybe even subscribe. I'd love to have you. Now back with the restoration. Okay, everyone, now it is time to start to open up these torsos. You will need a fresh X-Acto blade. In fact, you will need several of them whenever it comes to this. Now, Ken is a different beast because when we look at it, you're supposed to go down the seam line with your X-Acto blade, but his seam line goes into his arms over here, goes all the way down, and then it goes to the front. You can see like where that is right there. It goes to the front and over here. Now with this doll, he's got melting, so that seam is ultimately lost.
Wah, wah, wah.
And then he's got a seam on the bottom. The Barbies are much more easier to do. We've got an easy, clean seam all the way down the torso. That is much nicer, much more user-friendly than Ken. But we're gonna make him talk, we're gonna try. So let's go ahead and try to get him open so we can see a seam right here. And it looks like he's already got a nice little crack right there, so that's good. So just follow along with your X-Acto blade. And when you're doing it, try to cut away from yourself. Interesting. Be careful when you cut too, because there is some plastic bits in here that you will need for later. So just keep that in mind and just be careful when you do cut. Let me see. Okay. We might be able just to cut down the sides anyway. Let me see if we could just do that. Okay, there we go. See, we just cut down the side like so. And again, you want to be careful because these plastic bits in here, we still need. Okay, so he exploded apart whenever I opened him.
I can't wait to die.
But that's fine. We can now see exactly what he's all about. Cut the string off. Go ahead and keep the little talker ring though, however. Just pull that to the side. So if we look at this right here, this torso cavity, this right here is the speaker. It's got a little spring in there. It's just a little cup action. This plastic is so fragile. This is plastic that you want to be very careful around because this is your speaker. And if we look at it, you can see all the dirt that's on the other side of it. And there's nothing really much that we can do about that other than wash this, which I'm going to do is I'm going to wash this as well, and try to get everything to look nice and whatnot. And this little black thing right here, this is the original O-ring. Look how it ends up.
That bothers me.
Like, it's everywhere, okay? Like, it's on this part right here. It's just flaked off everywhere. Here's another bit of it right there. And it's nasty. When this gets on you, you cannot get it off. I'm telling you, you're gonna have to get like some sort of degreaser or something. This is the record right here. But this one, it must have been a later Ken because it is all plastic. And at this time, they were trying to experiment in making them as cheap as possible because at this time, this was the introduction of Best Buy, and they were trying to get every single doll line to be affordable to compete with all the clones out there. So one solution that I've always found to get rid of some of this crap is actually rubbing alcohol. So if you put some on a Q-tip, like so, we'll go over here, like these little itty bitty bits, and this will just do its best in trying to get rid of this black stuff. But as you can see, it is a beast, but like it gets all over your fingers, so just keep that in mind. This is not going to be an easy project whatsoever. It's gonna look like you worked on your car. My car wishes. Let's see if we can get it off of this little cell, whichever side it's on. Oh yeah. It's like watercolor. Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
So now that your fingers are all cracked up and now that you have primarily a lot of it off of the doll itself, I think it's time to go ahead and give it a little Dawn dish soap and baking soda bath. Now that we've got all of the parts all washed and ready to go, I think that we are ready to put him back together. Okay, so we've got our O-ring right here. I'm gonna pull it and test it because I had to cut it and glue it to make it the right size for Ken, and I'm really eyeballing it because you want it to go around the record like so. So let's go over some of these parts. This is our spring right here. This is what will go on the inside of this record. And right here we have a separate washer that goes around the bottom. So that's cool. We have another washer right here, which will go along right there as well. This is a later model, you can tell, because this part is made of plastic. Usually this is made of metal or some sort of like metal fiber, maybe aluminum, because it never is found rusted. But usually there's like a little metal piece where this part of the spring can hook onto. This does not have one. It just like fits right in there. Sketchy. And I have replaced a string, and you want to wrap this around the top at least 7 times So we could do that later, as the string is just gonna pop right out of place. And right here we have the cam. This part is kind of important. It just goes right here. So you wanna be delicate with this. You wanna be careful not to lose it. You also wanna be delicate with this part, and this part right here holds in the needle in the arm. So you just put that in there, and then that would hold it. And then of course this has a little needle on the end. Don't know if you can see that. Little shiny bit right there, that's the needle, very small. These are so cool because they are miniature record players. I absolutely love the construction of them because it is so unique and it's so different, but I also at the same time get very anxious whenever I open them because, like usual, whenever it comes to restoring these, I don't have a great idea of what I'm doing. I have an idea of what I'm doing, but I don't have like the most knowledge whenever it comes to restoration like this. So I try to take very special care and try to give myself a lot of grace whenever it comes to these. But in here you can see the speaker, and I've went ahead and I put grease on a lot of these parts so that way they will move easier, and I just like to rub it along the areas where I know that it's going to need a lot more movement, and I'll, you know, press it like that, get it all lubed up in there because you're gonna need it. And I also like to put a nice generous amount in here where the spring goes, in here where the record goes, and in here where the washer goes. Anywhere where it makes contact and it is supposed to spin, I like to go ahead and put it in there. What I'm going to start with is actually putting my washers in place. Now I've got my big one down there. I have the plastic washer already around the record. I'm going to put this around the record, like so. That's where it fits in the groove. I'm going to go ahead and just place that right down in the slot where it belongs. I'm going to wrap this around at least 7 times. And after I get that wrapped around, I'm going to put on the cam. I'm going to loop the needle arm through. And then I'm going to pull it right over here. I'm going to pull it pretty taut. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put in our governor. Place that right where it's supposed to go, but you also want to check to make sure that everything is right where it should be, and I believe it is. I'm going to go ahead and put this onto, going to place this jauntily where I want it to go. Again, it's just supposed to gracefully fit. I'm going to take this right here and loop it onto the governor like so. Then I'm going to place firm pressure. Before we actually pull it, I'm going to tell you that I did glue it down here where the peg came off, and I added some baking soda to reinforce that glue to make like a new acrylic, so that way it can be on there for good and it can stay. This in here, if this had broken off, then I too would have done the same trick over here, but I didn't even glue it because it wasn't glued to begin with, and it just gracefully fits inside that peg. So I'm going to pull the string, and it goes right back to where it should. Okay, so now the test, the real test, to see if he actually works or not. Here we go. Okay. Cross your fingers.
I'm taking the girls shopping. Wanna go?
Oh.
DJ's having a party. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm taking the girls shopping. Wanna go?
So I'm gonna use my super glue of choice. I love this glue. I've been using it for years. I'm going to stick it onto the parts where I think it needs to go. And if you have like any black residue along the lines, make sure that you are actually not putting glue on top of it, because it just makes it even more messy. Going to put the string through the hole like so. And I'm just going to try my best to put him together without making too much of a mess. So it's been a couple minutes and I've actually decided that I'm going to just use a fresh X-Acto blade and just cut off all of these melt marks that he has around his crotch area because it's very unappealing, number one. And I'm going to try to do something that I've not done before in hopes that it will prevent any more of this from happening. And this happens due to a chemical reaction between two plastics that honestly have no business going together. There we go. We're just gonna cut this off as best as we can. Okay. Now, something that I'm actually going to do, which will probably be controversial to some people, I'm going to build new acrylics.
Scandalous!
And you might be wondering where I plan on doing that. And I plan on doing that actually right around here. I want to do a full layer of new acrylic so that way the legs will no longer have a chemical reaction whenever they touch the torso. And also it will help it be stronger so it's not as gummy, because right now it's very gummy, this plastic. So if you see like some of the little joints like right over here, like where the seam line, where there's a separation because of the plastic that was lost, I go in with a little bit of glue, take some baking soda, put some on it, tap tap, and then check that out. We have some acrylic now. You could take a little bit of sandpaper if it really bothers you, sand it down a bit, and boom, look at that. It is sealed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like the same thing, but down here where I'm just going to make some new acrylic to go over the leg joint completely, because I want to reinforce these legs if I can. Okay. Because I would like to have the opportunity to redress this Ken as many times as I want and not worry about his legs coming right off. Because Kens of this era are notorious for that. So I'm going to sprinkle some of this on top. And again, you might get this in the body cavity, but it's okay. It's just baking soda. It's not going to hurt anybody. There we go. Just dust that off. And there you go. Nice and sturdy. We love to see it. You could take some sandpaper, sand it down. And look at that. There you have some genuine, brand new acrylic. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to try to rebuild this bit of plastic that's broken off. I'm going to try. A little dust ought to do the trick. Okay. And it becomes more bulky whenever you add more on top. There we go. Like so. action. And what do we got? Boom! We've got another little neck joint. So we've got Ken's head on and we've got Ken's legs on. They just popped in and they're nice and sturdy. And I bet that they're not going to melt anymore. But to put his arms back in, it's going to be a little bit different. You want to get these all hot again. So go back to your boiling water, dunk these and get them nice and warm, and then just pop them right back onto his body, and then boom, you've got a restored talking Ken. Okay, now we are gonna work on Barbie herself.
Oh, my favorite.
Just try to take it easy if you can. Okay, so we are back and everything is clean, and let's go over the parts again so that way we are more familiar. We have the talking ring here. It's in a little flower formation. Ken's is just a ring. We have the cam. We have the governor right here. We have the spring, which is just a coil. Of course, the record needle, just right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. We have some washers right here. And then we have our record frame as well as our pull string itself. And the easiest way to do it that I have found is to stick it through the hole at the bottom.
Oh!
One side, like so. On the other side, make a little knot. There we go. Pull it right under to where it just sits. Going to take it and loop it. Okay, so we're going to take it and loop it right here. And you just want to push it down, all the way down. That's to get it out of the way. So let's talk about the O-ring. The O-ring is very important whenever you are doing your Talking Barbie restoration. That is actually what helps the doll talk. When trying to find a O-ring replacement for Barbie, it's very difficult. There are no online dealers that actually sell a Talking Barbie O-ring. There are some that sell Chatty Cathy, and what you could do, you could get it and cut it and glue it to the size that you want. However, I did some research and I went to Ace Hardware after spending probably $50 on Amazon and Lowe's combined trying to find the right size O-ring for this project, and I was still coming up with nothing. One of my coworkers said, why don't you just go to Ace Hardware? And I was just like, why don't I just go to Ace Hardware? It never occurred to me that that would be the place where you would want to get it, but that is the place where you get them. I will leave the dimensions and everything down below in the description where you can get these wonderful O-rings. I bought so many just in case I find these Talking Barbies, but I really don't go out seeking these Barbies because although they are fun to restore, as far as like whenever you pull the string you get to hear what they say, opening them up and, you know, being very careful with their plastic bits. They're very fragile. It's very like anxiety driven for me. I just rather stick to the dolls I know than focus on fixing all of those. But I went ahead and bought a bulk lot so that way I could fix even more down the road if I find them. Or if my restorations that I glued with the O-rings break, I've got replacements. But I just wanted to go ahead and talk about, like, I am using a Chatty Cathy O-ring for the first two dolls, so for Ken and Stacey, that I've glued down to size, and for Barbie I use one that is actually to her size with no glue. So if you're looking for the one that is true to size with no glue, just check the description down below. I've got you covered. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, so let's put Barbie back together again. So I'm going to use, before I put everything together, I'm going to use some lubricant. I've got this grease right here that I like to use. Now you can use whatever grease. You don't have to use this exact grease. This is just what I found. And I've already done this, but I'm gonna do it again because it can't hurt. These originally did have a grease that went on them, some sort of lubricant. And that is just to help it move and everything. You wanna put it over here on the speaker too. Make sure you get all around there in that plastic bit right there. And you could even pump it up if you want. There you go. Okay. Now it should be pretty greased up. You might even want to add some right here on the little spindle. A little bit goes a long way with this grease. Okay, so we're done with that part. So now you're going to want to focus on the record itself. So my book says that you want to wrap this around 9 times. So let me make sure I've got the spring area right here. This is where you want the spring to be connected to on the bottom. So I'm going to wrap this around 9 times. Okay, so we've got it wrapped around there about 9 times. And at this point, you can go ahead and put the O-ring around it as well. We've got the spring. You want to connect it like this first. Okay, and then whenever it is on the peg right there, turn it over like so. The long peg right here is going to come out to the front. The small one is going to go to the back. We're going to try to put these ever so gently into their little designated areas. Okay. I'm going to place the cam right here on the little peg. Right there, very important. I'm going to thread the pull string through the record arm right here. I'm going to place it onto the peg. That's also very important right there. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull taut. Do a little fancy knot over here in hopes that everything will stay right where I need it as I try to put this all together. I'm going to take the governor. I'm going to put it right where it needs to go. And here we go. The anxiety-driven part. We're gonna put this on. So I'm gonna place it where it all lines up. Like so. Make sure it all goes together, just lines up perfectly is what it should. Okay. Just go right on top of there. All right. So now I'm going to place the governor belt around the governor top right there. I'm going to press this down, this peg down into the hole, like so. Okay, now everything looks the way that it should. This is the 2nd generation body. The 1st generation is a little bit different. So I'm going to press firmly on it to these little trigger points right here on these little pegs. I'm going to pull. Wonderful. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to test it. Place this right in here. Let's see what Barbie has to say. She speaks perfectly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the back. I'm going to look at the back of this right over here. As you can see, it's still trying to go back in, which is fine. This O-ring is perfect. Since this doll has her pegs, this could be a little bit of an unnecessary step. but a little dollop will go a long way, I feel. And there we go. I'm gonna go where I can already see like there being glue at one point, like right around here. I'm gonna do where the peg is right there. I'm gonna go along the side seam, right here, right up there, right up here. Just gonna travel on down and go right there. Use your better judgment where you want to put the glue. Make sure not to use a lot of glue, because another thing that's going to keep this doll together is going to be the limbs. I'm going to take my string, place it right through the hole, like so, and gracefully drop this down. And you can take a rubber band or two and you can just wrap it around several times, and just to make sure that the glue completely adheres. Thankfully, it looks like it's a pretty clean break, but if you do have a little bit of glue, you could just take your Q-tip, run up, there you go. And honestly, that's the trick. So I went in and I tied it with 2 little knots right there, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of this glue and just place it onto the knot right there, just to keep it all intact. Again, I'm just gonna leave this here for a bit. I'm gonna let it dry. I'm gonna cut off the excess string, and then I'm gonna get to work on her knobs. So I don't know if you're familiar, but on restoredoll.com, they used to have these little repair kits. And ever since I've tried to look for them again, I've not been able to find them. And I believe it's because they run out of stock so frequently. But these are basically what they are. So like they're little repair kits. So they've got like little knobs on them for legs and knobs on them for the arms. They even have one for the living Barbie body right here. This is the neck knob that goes inside there for the ball joint. It looks very similar to later, neck knobs, but it's different because it doesn't have a full ball on the bottom, but it even has like a neck knob, like say your Barbie was missing one. It's got a standard one right there too. We've got the arms over here, and then we've got legs over here, and these are so genius. And I remember messaging them probably a couple years ago about these repair kits, and they really didn't have anything to say to me other than we're out, basically. So I went on eBay and I found somebody who was selling me a whole big bunch of them. So that's pretty cool. So what I've done, I took one of the ones that have like a full circle. Now these are so that in case like you've got a big gap like this, you're able just to glue one on top. But if you do and you don't alter it, it's just going to like stick up there, and you're going to have a big gap where your leg is. Your leg will be on very well, but you will still have a gap. So what I've done is I have made it to where it will fit inside here, and then I will just make my own acrylic to make it a little bit sturdier, as well as putting some acrylic on the ends, so maybe whenever we put the joint in, it doesn't look so jarring. Over here, I've got the actual knob that goes on top of there, and I put it inside this little baggie. And so basically this is just gonna go on top. I'll have to find, I think it's like right here. Yeah, there it is. It's just gonna go on top like so, and I'm gonna do a layer of acrylic around it. I'm gonna go ahead and actually just glue this on, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm just gonna go in and just glue this on right here. Now be careful though, because like you've got your governor like right in there, like if this ever happens to you. I'm just going to glue this on like so. Let's see. And that's just basically what we're gonna do. Now there's probably still gonna be a little bit of a gap here, but that's something that we can definitely work with. I'm gonna put some on here. I'm gonna go in, try to make this look very seamless. The more seamless it is, the more it's going to stay on and look right.
She's educated.
It's about as seamless as that's gonna look. So I'm gonna start building my acrylic, and what you're gonna do to start, you're gonna take your glue and just rub it where you think it's gonna need it. It's like right along here. I'm gonna take the baking soda and just put it on like so. Okay, you see that's some acrylic right there now. It is dry. You can run your finger around it. You could blow it if you wanted. And now that is on pretty good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually keep building it because I want it to be really sturdy, especially around the sides. Like, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it actually and build it around these sides over here. And the reason that is because I want it to be a little bit more sturdy than what it is currently. Just want to build up plastic. It's such a cool chemical reaction, like, honestly. And if you're worried that this is going to make her like stop working magically, it's not. Like, I could pull this right here.
Let's have a fashion show together.
See, she still works. So there you go. Look at that. Now we've got a working little knob right there where we could just stick the legs on and call it a day. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over it with my sander. Just get everything flat. Now we're going to build this up a little bit right around here. I'm going to put some there. Put some right around the break. Now, one argument is that this definitely could add bulk to the knob, but I want this knob to be really sturdy. And I think now it's going to be really sturdy. So yeah, I'm going to get to sanding, and then I can show you all how I put the limbs back onto the doll torsos. So how I get the limbs to be put back on the body is I like to start with my electric kettle by getting some boiling hot water. I go ahead and I put in the arms. You could put in the whole arm, you could put in the lower part. And I like to put the legs in where the hole goes right there. And I like to leave them there for a minute whenever they get squishy. And when they get squishy, then they're ready to be put back onto the torso. Okay, so the arms should be ready to go now. So it's going to be squishy up top. You just place it on like so. And boom, there you go. There's your arm. Okay, we're gonna do, we're gonna do the other one. Right here. Place on. So, okay, and then here is the leg. Now this was the problematic leg, the one that didn't have a knob. Go in and press. There we go. Here's one with the broken knob. Hopefully that one will go in. And there we go. All right. And now you have your torso and your legs on now. And everything looks nice and feels nice. And she still talks, but piece de resistance. And when you put her head back on, she starts to look like a new and complete doll. And then now I can get finished on doing her hair. Okay, so let's get finished with her hair. Her hair's been sitting for a couple days now, untouched. Just pull them out of the curlers. Just a little strand, and don't worry like if it looks messy right now because we're gonna fix it. All right, so now that the curlers are out of the hair, I'm gonna start by going to the root right up here, and I'm just gonna start brushing the hair. Because I just want it to be very flawless and seamless. Okay, so we're gonna take our elastic band. I like to use orthodontist elastics. And we are going to trap her spit curls, her nape curls. We're gonna trap them on the side. You're gonna watch out for the talking ring over here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around and fix the curls. We're gonna go around like so. Okay. Just brush them out and train them. So, and there you go. Nice and beautiful curls. And now I think it's time for the reveal. And here they are, all completed. We can go and start with Ken. Check him out. Ken's costumes back in the day used to have slits for his talking ring, just in case he had one. So let's pull his ring and hear what he has to say.
I'm taking the girls shopping. Wanna go? Put some records on and let's dance.
And there he is, all working. His head's no longer wobbly anymore. It's not about to break off. That acrylic hack really comes in clutch a lot of times in a restoration. But there's Ken. The next one we did was Stacey, and here is Stacey, all done and looking beautiful. She does have a reroot. She has nylon hair. It's a high-grade nylon, so it looks really nice. And we did her lashes, gave her face recoloring, and the ribbon I used is a little silk ribbon, and it looks very similar to what she originally had. And I put her in something green because I thought that that was the best look for this doll. Let's go ahead and see what she has to say.
Mini skips on first. Yeah, what should I wear to dinner?
And that's what Stacey has to say. Last but not least, let's look at Barbie herself. She came out looking really lovely, as can be. And I put her in this little yellow outfit because I thought it looked so cute. And it really brings out her Tahitian colored hair. Let's pull her ring and see what she has to say.
Let's go visit PJ. You visit PJ. We love to dance, don't you?
And she talks and she sounds so cute. Now you might be wondering who PJ is if you don't know. But this is PJ. This was Barbie's new friend at that time. And she too can talk.
I'm Barbie's best friend, PJ. I'm Barbie's best friend. That's an answer going over.
There you go. Okay. There they are together. Now, Stacey originally would have come with a different type of Barbie. This would have been the Barbie that she would have come with from this beautiful little outfit. And she is all original. She's very beautiful. So let's go ahead and pull her ring and see what she has to say.
Let's go back to the car. I have a date tonight.
And there she is. Now these dolls do say several phrases, but because they're in a record system, they don't all say them. It's really luck of the draw whenever you are dealing with these dolls right here as to what they're going to say. Some of them have very favorite phrases, like hers is "I have a date tonight," and one of hers is "college parties are super fun." But yeah, we have another nape curl talker right here. Now this one is probably my favorite nape curl. I just think that she's so beautiful, you know, and she kind of varies from this Tishan because the face coloring is much more severe on this one than it is on this one. But they both look super lovely. But those are all the talking dolls that I have. I really hope that this video will help you if you are looking to restore them, or if you're curious just like on how they work and how to get yours working if you can, or if you want to be up for the challenge. It is something that can be rather difficult, rather taxing. So again, just take time to breathe and take it in steps. Don't feel rushed to try to do it all in one setting. If it helps you, maybe just start with making them look nice and then worry about making them talk again whenever you feel ready and prepared to take that next step. But anyway, I do hope that this video was helpful in getting to know how to fix your talking Barbies and also to make them look nice. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. If you liked this video, please leave a like, leave a comment down below, and please share with your friends. And if you really like me, go ahead and subscribe. I want to thank you all so much for watching. It's really been a thrill to work on these. This has been like a project for 2 weeks now. I'm ready to move on and do something else, and I hope you all are excited to see that new project. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye-bye.
You've got lots of friends. And some of your friends are dolls. But Barbie's the doll with lots of friends of her own. They're Stacey and Christy.
What's playing at the cinema? Shall we go?
Let's go shopping with Barbie.
There's Skipper and her new twist and turn friends, Francie and Casey. Sure, dolls are fun.
I love being a fashion model.
And friends are the best thing in the world. Now, if you have Barbie and her friends at your house, you've got some new friends.